up on Tech News today, AirBNB offers you $50,000. All you have to do is have someone trash your place. And Adobe gives up on Flash, kinda. And Diablo III pisses everyone off. All that and more coming up.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by Cachefly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today for Monday, August 1st, 2011. Tech News Today is brought to you by Bricks. Get a brick with your message on it right inside the Brick Twit house. Buy your brick today at bricks.twit.tv. Welcome to Tech News Today. I'm Tom Merritt.
I'm Sarah Lane.
I'm Darren Kitchen.
I'm Iyaz Akhtar.
And Iyaz back behind the board again. Jason's gone all the week.
Yeah.
So day two. You feeling more comfortable
Could
now?
you sound any more excited if you tried?
Did you forget everything over the week?
I was just trying to make sure I didn't forget anything, but I almost forgot to record. So,
hey, but you remembered.
no, John did.
Oh, but someone remembered.
Yeah, so we're good.
All right, good. Well, you know, weigh in as much as you can with your fingers flying over there. But thankfully, we've got Darren who's Skyping in instead of coming up today because you're on your way to DEF CON.
I am, not at this very moment, but we're going to be leaving here real soon. I'm super excited to be going to the largest hacker conference here in North America, and it should be pretty fantastic. Hoping to come back with a special report for you guys next week.
Excellent. Also in the news today, the Korea Herald reporting that a law firm called Mira Law plans to file suit against Apple in Korea later this month, seeking class action lawsuit to bring settlements similar to one that was just done. If you remember, a guy settled with Apple over the collection of location data for $945, and we all kind of laughed. We're like, well, $945 is chump change for Apple, but it's kind of a nice amount for that guy. Now, if this class action lawsuit goes through, Apple might have to pay out $25.6 million.
Which is still something they could afford, but that's much less chump change for them.
Yeah, exactly. It is kind of hilarious that it's like, actually, you know.
Actually, they have more money than
the U.S. government. So
right. They've got it in the bank.
Totally. Yeah.
But they don't want to pay that.
Exactly.
Now, how much do you think, though, if this goes through, how much do you think the actual people involved get? Because isn't it with these class action lawsuits that you end up getting like a free CD and $1?
Yeah, I don't know how it works in Korea, but that's usually the way it is in the United States. They sue for billions of dollars, and it's like, you can claim your $1.57 by filling out this postcard. And then you fill them out and you send them in. If you don't send them in, that money goes to the lawyers.
Yeah, not to mention the 31 cents it's going to cost you to send the postcard, you know?
No, they're usually business reply mail. I have noticed that in a lot of cases. There's a Q&A on Apple's website as well as press interviews with company executives detailing in full what went down with this geolocation, and I assume they'll make a good effort to fight it in court. But, you know, big chunk of change heading Apple's way. Also, just this today, the AirBNB CEO, Brian Chesky, he's also the co-founder of AirBNB, sending a letter to users apologizing and announcing a new $50,000 guarantee that will protect the property of hosts who book through its website. This in response to a huge controversy over someone who used Airbnb to rent out their home to someone, and the home was just trashed.
This is also, okay, so that, and that particular person took to the blogs under the name EJ, and we've talked about the story on TWiT at length already, but once she went public with her very atrocious experience, some other people came forward as well. Airbnb says not only will this $50,000 cover anybody who rents out their apartment going forward, but anybody who's complained thus far. That's a handful of people already.
Yeah.
So they're already guaranteed to be shelling out quite a bit of money.
So, okay, here's the deal. On August 15th, Airbnb will be implementing $50,000 Airbnb guarantee, protecting the property of hosts who book through our website. We will extend this policy to EJ and any other host who may have reported their home damaged while renting on Airbnb in the past or future. So even though it doesn't start until the 15th,
right,
it's retroactive. EJ can take advantage of it.
Yeah, pretty much. And first of all, I think they Airbnb realizes that they got themselves into a PR nightmare. They didn't say what they should have said a lot earlier on, and they're trying to rectify that now, and I think that this is a really good step. That said, how are they going to make sure that, because bad people are on both sides of the coin, how are they going to make sure that people aren't now going to try to exploit getting $50,000 out of them by saying, hey, this crazy meth head came to my apartment and trashed it in order to get money.
So Darren,
Tom, you could rent out the hack studio. Trash it.
Okay, we will scratch my back, scratch yours. I've got a place in Oakland that you could rent out. No, that would never do that.
Well, you guys wouldn't do that, but I'm saying somebody somewhere would, because these sorts of things happen.
So
not very often, but they happen.
At least it's good that there's some sort of, guarantee there, because I can't imagine that any sort of homeowner's insurance policy is going to cover your, what's in your house or your property in any way if you're renting it out. For that you have to have probably a completely different policy, and I don't know, it just brings up a whole bunch of interesting questions about zoning and how legal it is and whatnot.
Well, sure, and most landlords don't allow subletting anyway for this exact reason, because you've got liability problems, and they were renting it out to one party, not that second party that they've never met before and might not be trustworthy.
Yeah, a couple things is I bet the policy will have a lot of safeguards in place. Someone in the chat room suggested you may have to file a police report. Not that you couldn't defraud someone even while filing a police report, but that makes it a lot riskier, because then you're dragging the police into it as well. I'm sure there will be a lot of safeguards to prevent against fraud. They don't want to highlight those right now, because they're in the apology mode.
Exactly.
And it would come off wrong. And they've also launched a new place on their site called airbnb.com/safety, which will help you make a safer selection when you rent your place out using their service. I'll be honest, I wouldn't do this.
You wouldn't use the service?
No,
if you needed a place to crash, or you wouldn't rent your place out?
I wouldn't rent my place out through this yet. I'm just too nervous about who would actually end up staying there.
Yeah, I'm with you. I have rented out places, well, just one actually, but it was a successful experience on Airbnb, but I wouldn't rent my place out either, because I don't know, even just a little ding in the wall would really bother me when I got home. What happened? Why weren't they more careful? Kind of thing.
So neither of you would do couchsurfing.com?
Well, I don't want anybody on my couch. I don't mind going to someone else's place.
I'm kind of
I don't want them to be very crazy either. But Airbnb really is taking this seriously. I mean, they are in full apology mode right now. They've bought a promoted tweet on Twitter, so that they have a apology tweet that links to their main apology blog post. So yeah, they want as many people to know that they realize that they screwed up. They should have taken better action. They're trying to make good now.
A new Apple TV firmware update arrived today and got people very excited, because there was no indication that it was going to do what it did, which is allow you to stream any television show you've ever purchased through iTunes right to your Apple TV, and allows you to buy the shows directly from the Apple TV. First-gen Apple TV allowed you to buy shows directly because it had storage. So you could buy it and it would download it. But the Apple TV that you get now has a very small amount of storage. So what this does is says you can buy it and stream it to the Apple TV from the cloud without ever having to store it locally. You don't have to worry about that.
So you buy it once and stream it as many times as you want.
Exactly. Well, you own it.
Yeah.
Now it does. I haven't seen any reports of whether this working in iTunes on a computer. It seems to only work with Apple TV.
That's what I would want, is the streaming on the computer, because when you're renting or buying a TV show off iTunes, you don't want to watch it now, and you've got to. And while you can wait for a certain amount of it to buffer, and you can sometimes get it to play that way, it's kind of not the best user experience.
This is also only the second-gen Apple TV, correct?
That's right.
Not the first. You have an older one.
Original Apple TV.
Early adopter.
Has not had a firmware update in over a year. And they're not, and it's not going to. I mean, they could easily make it do all of this stuff. They just don't want to spend time developing for that platform, because it's not iOS. It's a different fork on that code.
Now, I wonder if it's just because they're rolling it out but why does this only apply to TV shows purchased through iTunes and not movies?
Yeah, they must not have gotten the licensing to do this with movies, maybe, or they're just testing it with shorter forms before they get to the longer form stuff that has to stream. They don't want to. This isn't part of iCloud yet. They haven't launched iCloud.
But it's certainly a cloud-based storage system.
Yeah. Darren, why do you think they're doing it this way?
Well, I mean, because otherwise they're not going to sell as many TV shows if you can't easily stream them on your new Apple TV. It kind of seems like this is one of those things that should have been built into the product from day one.
But why not movies? Why aren't they adding in the movies?
I can only imagine that's a licensing issue, or maybe just a technical hurdle where they want to just kind of dip the toe in the water and make sure it works with the smaller format stuff. It's the only thing I can think of.
Let's move on to poor Jake Davis of Scotland's Shetland Islands. We've talked about him before. He was arrested last week, accused of being one of the anonymous lulzsec hackers. A lot of people were debating whether he was or was not topiary. He arrived in court today wearing wraparound shades, a black T-shirt covered by a blue chambray shirt. Is that a chambray shirt? I don't know. It's a blue shirt anyway. He's 18 years old and was charged with unauthorized access to a computer system, participation in a distributed denial of service attack, and other crimes. The Metropolitan Police say he obtained personal information from Britain's National Health Service, infiltrated the servers of News International, and participated in attacks against the website of the Serious Organized Crime Agency. Now, here's the evidence that they found, and this has got a lot of people saying that's got to be topiary. They found 750,000 passwords related to anonymous activities, both legitimate and illegitimate, and drafts of the fake Rupert Murdoch death story that was posted on the Sun's website.
I mean, I don't know if I'm giving these guys too much credit, but I'm still like, really? Drafts? There are drafts still on the computer that would be easily pulled up by somebody?
Yeah,
it's almost like too breadcrummy.
Darren, is that out of character?
Well, you know, I would expect if you were that kind of a hacker that you would have your your drive true encrypted.
Yeah.
Yeah. So but that's. I don't think we all practice what we preach, but this is a case where maybe he should have. I'd be interested to see what kind of statements he makes publicly. Not really anything coming out of this first appearance in court, other than just identifying his name.
Yeah, he's released on bail. Is being ordered to continue to live with his mother. Is banned from accessing the internet. Faces a curfew of 10 p.m. until 7 a.m. the next morning, and he must wear a monitoring device to verify his compliance. He'll come back to court on August 30th. So, I don't know.
Otherwise known as he's grounded.
Yeah, he's essentially been grounded by Scotland.
But I mean, he's not in custody. He's got a curfew, but I mean, for the most part, he can roam free for the next month.
During the day, can't use the internet
so it's probably not a very fun existence.
Yeah, which
You're
means
topiary.
How is he going to get his Diablo III on? I'm just saying.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that in a second. He may not want to. Just real quickly before we move on, though, Anonymous has not been stopped by this, and you wouldn't expect that they would have been. Over the weekend, Anonymous released what they say are details on 7,000 police officers, including social security numbers, email accounts, passwords, phone numbers, and home addresses. That is not going to make them popular with a section of the society that's probably they're not popular with anyway, so they probably don't care. But,
right.
Releasing this kind of personal information of officers of the law, yeah, they're definitely picking a fight with any kind of authority.
And this was information that they had previously said, we have this,
right,
and now they're releasing it. But I'm sure the timing is not totally coincidental that this comes right after the weekend that this Jake Davis topiary. Yeah.
If he is topiary. I'm still convinced there's more than one person behind most of these names.
Yes.
He may have been one of the more popular ones, but
well, he's been said to have been one of the spokespersons for Anonymous and lulzsec, and supposedly operated the lulzsec Twitter account. And recently, his own Twitter account has been replaced. Like, all of his tweets have been deleted with only one tweet now that says you cannot arrest an idea.
Right. Which Anonymous IRC Twitter account linked to and sort of said, we're with you, fight the good fight.
Next story, the idea of liberty was taken into custody and thrown in jail. On to Adobe Edge. Adobe Edge is it Adobe giving up on Flash? This is a new tool from Adobe, like a Flash-style creator, but for HTML5. You can download it. It's available in beta starting yesterday, Sunday. Go to labs.adobe.com, runs on Windows and Mac, and uses standard HTML5 added with scripting, combo of jQuery and Adobe scripts, and you can animate using scripts and CSS to create the kinds of animations and things you would create in Flash, but all standards compliant.
Well, I think that whether Adobe wanted to do this or not, they were definitely forced into a corner. I mean, Flash at one point was the way to make things look cool on the internet, and now you can do that a variety of other ways. And Flash doesn't even work on certain devices that a lot of people use. So I think this is a great step for them.
I think this is Adobe admitting a fact, which is, sure, Flash is still very well alive, but a lot of people are going to be designing for HTML5, and we need to sell them software as well. It's a free preview you can download. Darren, you downloaded it and kicked it around. What did you think?
It's very limited. Calling it a preview is very right. I mean, the program itself is stable, and it functions just as you might imagine if you've ever used any of the other Adobe Creative Suite products like Premiere or After Effects or anything like that. But the tools in there are just very limited. I've just played around with it a little bit, created my own little, you know, Edge, HTML5, jazzy, I don't know, animation here for Tech News Today. And
oh, that's really nice, Darren. That is really good.
It's cat.
Yeah.
I know. And the way that, I mean,
boy, I wouldn't even know I wasn't looking at Flash right now. That's beautiful stuff.
This is going to revolutionize the internet. I mean, come on. Just think about all of the wonderfully crappy animations that we're going to see a resurgence in.
That's the thing, is that Flash, when done right, can be really beautiful. But, I mean, it's also become this thing that we make fun of when done really badly. So you use your new HTML5 tools with care, Adobe community.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of this is Adobe responding to the fact that advertisers, which I can only imagine is a lot of the people that use Flash, because you can create like dynamic and rich ads and stuff, you know, when all of these mobile devices, it's kind of hit or miss whether they support, you know, no Flash, flashlight, full Flash, what have you. When everything runs HTML5, you know, advertisers are saying, hey, we need to, you know, develop our ads that'll look good on every device, and that's the end of story.
This is going to come out sometime in 2012 in its full version, so it's a little early to say whether it's, you know, worthwhile or not. But just the idea that Adobe is saying, yeah, we need to have a tool for folks who want to work in this, I think is a good sign. I think it means that Adobe can win, and we can win, and whoever else like Apple, who's been kind of a jerk about all of this, can win as well, so that we get a standards-compliant web that will run on any device, and we don't have this system where it's like, oh, I've got this crappy animation, you know, that I have to wait to load because, oh, my browser plugin crashed. It would just work natively. It'll work on any platform. That's what I would like to see eventually, and this is a step towards that. So I just hope that we don't end up with exactly what you just said, except replace Flash with HTML5. With crappy animations just done in HTML5? Yeah.
Crappy animation.
I wasn't speaking
takes
of
forever
the aesthetics. Yeah, well, yeah, maybe right
Can't
about
get
that.
to the restaurant's like address until I go through their 10-minute, you know, how great we are.
It is interesting to wonder whether people will use this for creating mobile applications or desktop applications. They probably will end up using this more for mobile devices where Flash isn't, where it's not as friendly to Flash. And Engadget has a post up today about something called PhoneGap 1.0, which lets devs write in HTML, CSS, and JavaScript and then deploy to iOS, Android, BlackBerry, WebOS, Bada, Symbian, Windows Phone 7 all at once. So, you know, if that works with Adobe Edge, you don't have to know all the underlying code to use Edge. It's the kind of thing that makes it simple to put something together if you've just got an idea without having to dive in and spend all that time working with HTML5 at the line code level. And then you could possibly post it to all of these different platforms at once. It could easily be used for making apps. On to Diablo III. The press were invited into the lair of Blizzard to see a preview of Diablo III, and get some details, and the details are not popular with everyone. First of all, the new version Diablo III, which is hopefully going to be coming out later this year, will have to be online to play. This is the same as StarCraft 2. It's also the same as the Ubisoft games that are getting so much heat. You have to have an internet connection to use Diablo III because they say Battle.net is so integrated into the new game that you'll have to be able to access Battle.net. This is not designed for offline play. So they're trying to say, I don't know whether you guys buy this or not, they're trying to say it's less about DRM and more about the experience of the gameplay.
Yeah, they're also saying, you know, if you wanted to go to Battle.net, you'd have to start a character from scratch no matter what you did offline, and then there'd be no guarantee that you didn't cheat. And of course there's the implicated piracy that could happen. So it's like, I mean, they have an explanation. It just doesn't sound like it's very good news for everybody.
StarCraft, actually. Also, the auction house will use real cash. At least one of the auction houses will use real cash. This is ingenious.
Oh, C-A-S-H.
Yeah, not C-A-C-H-E. This is a way to fight gold farming. To say, look, don't go out and spend money buying items on eBay from people that might rip you off and steal your credit card.
Yeah.
Use cash in the auction house and buy stuff.
Yeah, but supposedly you won't be able to just pull out your Amex and twink yourself because there will be level caps on the different weapons and stuff.
Right. You can't buy a thing that doesn't work with your level of character. That makes sense.
I just can't imagine why you would, you know, I understand all of the warm, fuzzy reasons that they've come up with to, you know, for the reason why you need to be online. Obviously a piracy thing, but why wouldn't you just, you know, I don't know, I would prefer to have a version where you can play offline with all the mods and all the cheats you want and just never be able to use that copy or that character on an online game.
There is a single player mode of the game. They're just saying you have to have your character stored online even if you're going to play single player. Finally, no mods allowed in Diablo 3. And again, this is weird because Blizzard makes StarCraft, they make World of Warcraft. Both have very healthy mod communities. In fact, the StarCraft community is hosted by Blizzard. It's encouraged by Blizzard. And saying there's not going to be any mods in Diablo 3 really disappoints people. But again, a lot of games don't allow mods. So
you know, and this is also the same community. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Darren.
I was just saying this is the same community that runs their own World of Warcraft servers with all the mods and cheats you could, you know, think of. So it's only a matter of time before this comes out and that community has their own way to, sure, play online with, you know, Blizzard's servers, you know. Yeah.
It's just this some kind of thing that they don't feel like supporting. Do they feel like it makes the experience messier?
Exactly. That's their argument. Is like this allows for cheating, and this is going to
we just want more control over the experience.
Exactly what they want. They want more.
I totally get the auction house thing. You know, it's like, why lose money to people who are willing to pay gold farmers when you could be raking that in yourself?
Well, imagine how many complaints they must get where someone's like, I paid this guy $50, and how are you going to help me? And they're like, we don't want you to do this. Yeah. We would like to keep you from doing it.
Finally, Apple is preventing Samsung from selling the Galaxy Tab 10.1 in Australia. Samsung has agreed not to sell the tablet until a patent lawsuit in the country is resolved. Samsung and Apple are suing each other all over the place. By the way, HTC just sued Apple in the UK. It's hard to keep track of this stuff. Samsung will stop advertising the device in Australia and will not sell it until the court gives them the green light. Samsung agreed to send Apple 3 copies of the Australian version of Galaxy Tab because Samsung claims it's different than the U.S. one. A hearing is currently scheduled for August 29th, at which time a trial date may or may not be decided, depending on Apple and Samsung have come to an agreement by that time. Apple has agreed it will pay unspecified damages to Samsung should it lose its suit. So Apple's pretty confident they're going to win this thing. And meanwhile, Apple also asked for an injunction against Samsung selling the Tab in a bunch of other countries, too. So it's not a pleasant fight between these two.
Well, if it's based on just the way that it's built, and Samsung says this Australian Galaxy Tab is not the same as the US Galaxy Tab, I mean, are all the countries some sort of slight modification where maybe there's a loophole there?
This bezel is 6 millimeters bigger.
Yeah, not based off Apple at all.
That's why
would you think that?
You'd have to advertise it differently as well.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the news fuse. One way to eliminate inhumane working conditions, get rid of the humans. Foxconn is reportedly planning to hire 1 million robots within 3 years.
That's a lot
I
of
use
robots.
the term hire loosely. Foxconn CEO Terry Gao announced at a workers' dance party on Friday that robots will replace some humans. Financial Times reports Gao says he meant to say that the robots would relieve workers of menial tasks, not replace them. Right.
You've been relieved.
I love that, though. It's like we're going to take some of our working needs off of human hands. So what, you guys are just going to sit around the rest of the time?
Yeah.
I don't think Foxconn is really in the
Smoke
business
cigarettes,
of
eat
yeah,
bonbons,
just take a load off.
have some scotch.
You're working too hard.
Yeah.
Let the robots do it. Amex and Verizon Wireless announced a partnership today. Verizon will support Serve, which is American Express's digital wallet that will let you pay for things by entering your phone number and PIN. There's no mention as to what Verizon devices will support Serve or what vendors will support Serve either, but considering that it'll be supported by Sprint, maybe there's something to this. I guess we'll start seeing a lot of little Serve buttons in our checkout areas.
Yeah, it's
online.
kind of a Trojan horse into NFC before there's NFC, I guess.
Yeah.
All right, Joe Caraganis, the SRCC, posted today about a little-known January study that shows illegal file sharers are among the music and video industry's best customers. And I know you're saying you've heard this before, and yes, you have. But this study came from Adobe, the folks responsible for implementing the law that cuts off the internet from people whom Adobe's own study shows are the industry's best customers.
Yeah, they do the 3 strikes law, and they're like, these people spend a lot of money. Well, cut them off anyway. A Polish-based Bitcoin escrow service has lost all of its wallet data it was storing due to a system failure on July 26th. Additionally, another remote Bitcoin storage service called My Bitcoin has suddenly disappeared along with all your Bitcoins. The short version is, if you have Bitcoins, keep them in a wallet on your own encrypted hard drive, because Bitcoin banking, not ready yet.
Patent trolls, beware, because developers aren't going to take your bullying. Or bullying. And they are also going to pun. iOS dev Mike Lee announced that the Amsterdam Legal Defense Team, I bet Iyaz must love that name, which is comprised of indie devs to fight patent trolls as one. Whether this kind of organization will dissuade companies from LoadSys from its pursuits still remains to be seen.
All right, Europe has fallen to Bing.
No.
Search engine Land reports that on August 3rd, Yahoo will stop serving up its own search results in Europe and will get its search results from Microsoft's Bing. Yes. Now, Bing already serves up Yahoo's search results in the U.S. already, and paid search results will still go through Yahoo, so they can try to scrape up some money out of that deal, you know?
Good luck, Yahoo. 2 of Best Buy's new house-branded Signia TVs will use TiVo's interface to manage their online content. These are connected TVs. TVs don't have DVRs, though. TiVo just manages the interface. And if you love widgets, these televisions will have them, and they're powered by Chumby. Hey, 2 things you love, Chumby and TiVo in one TV. Internet-connected TVs will be available next week. 32-inch model runs about $500. 42-inch runs about $700.
Chumbo, anyone?
Chumbo?
Chumby and TiVo.
Chumbo.
Ooh.
Better than TV.
Although my little test audience didn't know what I meant,
work.
so I'm not sure if it's the best name. Okay, you guys, are you Linux users?
Yeah.
Yes.
As a Linux user, do you feel neglected by Netflix?
Yeah.
Yeah, actually.
Okay, well, some good news may delight you. According to Tech Republic, a couple of Netflix engineers at OSCOM said that Netflix support would come to Linux within the next 12 months. Netflix streaming would most likely be available via a proprietary client. For Windows and OS X, Netflix uses Silverlight to stream video, which isn't supported on Linux.
Wow, super excited about this.
Yeah.
Just moved a friend over to Mint Linux, and that was his only complaint. Anyway, worried about keeping all your data in the cloud would cause the Earth to die because of all those always-on servers? Well, according to a new report, data centers actually use a lot less energy than they were expected to at a time period of 2005 to 2010. Well, why so efficient? It seems the data centers move towards virtual machine and cloud computing, which requires less physical servers.
There you go. That makes perfect sense. All right, let's finish up with the randomizer. Randomizer.
Randomizer.
Yeah, wow, that was almost like the real thing.
I get better every week.
Yeah, and you didn't voice it, I'm pretty sure. Networking researchers have used LED lighting to distribute full HD movies to notebooks, smartphones, and other devices in a system that could join Wi-Fi and powerline networks into one amazingly powerful high-speed data thing. Why? I want to say pipe, but it's wireless.
It's a thing.
It's not a pipe. The optical WLAN co-ops white LEDs used for regular illumination to transmit data 100 megabits per second just by flickering the LED faster than the human eye can detect.
Wow.
Yeah, suppose I don't know if that would cause a headache. What's interesting about this?
Or an epileptic seizure.
Yeah.
Watch those LEDs.
90 square foot range on these guys, except if you put your hand in between your photocell sensor and the flickering LED, no packets, no route to host. So, you know, needs line of sight still. I think it's just interesting the way that they would have to multiplex with the light, and I don't know, all the interesting sniffing options that it would bring. Supposedly, they can get all the way up to 800 megabits per second if they use multicolor red, blue, and green and white LEDs, which I'm sure would just be...
Clubs are going to have great WLAN.
Be a discotheque of packet goodness.
All right, Darren, speaking of which, we got to let you go and get yourself together for DEF CON. Thanks for taking the time to be with us today, though, and let folks know about where they can find your coverage.
Of course, head over to HAK5.org. We have a great series there called Hack Tip. If you're new to the whole hacker scene, we walk you right through, as well as, you know, our regular viewers, you know, will be having coverage from DEF CON, so stay tuned to Hack 5.
All right, man. Good luck.
Thanks,
Stay
Darren.
safe.
Have fun.
Drive safely.
Take care.
Come back in one piece.
And we'll move on to the calendar.
Okay, so if your Google profile was deleted, remember that as of yesterday, Google Plus users were supposed to have made their profiles public or suffer the consequences. So if you're like, where did it go?
I haven't heard
Maybe that's what happened.
Yet.
You know, me either. Yeah. Not one person I know has complained. So either they knew what they were getting into, or they changed things ahead of time.
Google is like afraid to actually delete.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe Google was like, just kidding. We're not ready to do that yet. People are already mad at us as it is. HP is rolling out an over-the-air update to WebOS on the touchpad today, according to a tweet from head of developer relations Richard Karras. He had promised it was going to be by July, so this is only August 1st. So one day after July, not too bad if it all works out okay. Karras also tweeted that the QA team has been working late nights, so hopefully that means it's going to be a really great update. Logitech officially drops their Google TV review unit price to $99 today, and they've clarified that whole more returns than sales remark, which had people scratching their heads like, how does that happen? Returning multiple times? No, actually, this was distributors and retailers that sell most of the hardware, returning the units before people could even buy them.
So retailers just couldn't sell them. It wasn't that they didn't work.
Exactly.
Okay.
They're like, these gotta go. We gotta do something.
That's not good.
Yeah, not good. So it wasn't end users, but still doesn't mean good things for end user experience. Nokia and Microsoft are hosting a special event on August 17th. Both companies may be announcing
Windows Phone 7. I mean, why else are these two going to have an event? We're going to see the Windows Phone 7 phone August 17th.
Could not imagine what else Nokia and Microsoft could have up their sleeves.
Either that or they're getting married. That's what Engadget thinks.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm going to go with Windows Phone 7, but who knows? Maybe it'll be a wedding.
Yeah.
Wedding of the two companies is actually kind of what it is. AMD will launch their high-end FX series bulldozer-based processors in September with 8-core, 6-core, and quad-core versions. Can we start calling them octo-core?
Let's.
I would love that.
Let's just
I
do
mean,
it.
8-core, that's not fun.
Octo-core.
Let's all roll our eyes now. Ready? Okay. Because I have another iPhone 5 rumor. This one puts the release date in October rather than September. Now, you might have remembered that there were some rumors, hey, AT&T is blacking out employee vacations the last 2 weeks of September. We all know why that is. Source tells All Things D. No, that's not why it is. We don't know what AT&T is doing, but the iPhone 5 is not coming until October, and possibly towards the end of the month. Yeah, so we don't know, but hey, it's either going to be in the next month or the month after that, unless there's another rumor, which there probably will be. According to Blockbuster UK Flyer in the UK, the PlayStation Vita will ship in the United Kingdom on October 28th.
Hey, look at that.
Back at E3, Sony had announced that the Vita would be AT&T exclusive in the US, and then as far as worldwide, said shipping toward the end of 2011. So this is good news if you're in the UK, and it's true.
On to the voicemails, and our first one is a video, not a voice. Well, there's voice on it, so I guess it's voice and video. Yeah. But Nathan, responding to the story we talked about from Tom's Hardware on Friday about the reliability of hard drives versus solid-state drives.
It's about the bit that you did on Friday about the reliability or the durability of solid-state hard drives compared to the traditional old spinning disk drives. A lot of the data came from desktop use and from data center use, where all the hard drives are kind of nailed down. They're not going anywhere. Whereas the way I use my hard drive is in the laptop. I take this to do live streaming from festivals and conventions and things, and you can see there how I've dropped it and I've really dented and broken the unibody shell of the MacBook Pro there, but the hard drive still survived, and I don't know if it would have survived if it had been a spinning disk one. Whereas I've dropped some external little hard drives from just a few centimeters and they've broken, which is why I've gone a bit over the top with this this case, this spongy case which I've made, which actually makes it quite bouncy. The test I want to see, the data I want to see is drop tests. Drop tests for hard drives. How high can you drop a solid-state drive and a spinning disk drive from and expect them to survive? And is there a difference between the two? Because that's the data that real-world users really want to know about. Anyway, thanks for the great report. Keep digging them up, and yeah, thanks for the show.
Hey, thanks, Nathan. A nice video.
Yeah,
good to see.
It's kind of like we need an episode of Will It Blend? Solid state versus spinny.
Yeah, I mean, Tom's Hardware, you know, they were not trying to see if it was durable and rugged. They were trying
This was just regular usage.
They were actually trying to control and say, in the same situation, you know, a normal data center type situation, which one is more reliable, because they were trying to see what the reliability in the short term that didn't have to do with the construction. You know, with the fact that there's a limited amount of read writes on Flash, whether you know, so that's a separate study that I also would like to see. It's
Me too. Things get dropped. It happens,
especially when you're juggling them.
Right.
Anthony in Santa Rosa. Hey, that's just like 10 minutes north. It's not far.
Yeah, it's my mom lives in Santa Rosa.
He could have shouted his email in. I wanted to point out there was some info you missed in talking about the FireWire hack used to get passwords out of memory on Macintoshes. This is the one where FireWire can be used to pull the passwords out of the memory because it has direct memory access. He says, I think you should mention to the TNT audience that even though FireWire is not so common or popular, its successor has exactly the same issue, namely Thunderbolt on all the latest Apple machines also has direct memory access as part of the spec. So it would take almost no effort to create a device that does the same through Thunderbolt as through FireWire. Now, I haven't been able to check to see if that's absolutely true, but an interesting thing to note. Thanks, Anthony, for pointing that out.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we'll have to see if people can test it. Joel in Kansas City says, hey, TNT crew, AT&T just moved up my wife's iPhone upgrade date. It was August 25th to now. Could it be new iPhone coming soon? I wonder if other folks are seeing their upgrade dates moved up for the magical iPhone 4S, 5, whatever they might call it. Love the show. Joel looks past the fact that you're a Cardinals fan. He says, go Royals.
Don Dinkinger. That's all I have to say. All right, but interesting to know. You know, there could be lots of reasons that the upgrade date gets moved up, but why an iPhone upgrade date in particular gets moved up is usually because a new iPhone's coming out. I haven't heard anybody else getting their date moved up.
Yeah, this is it. I wonder why we hadn't heard anything besides from Joel, unless maybe we're just not reading the right forums. But that does seem like it could be a pretty good rumor.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, I want to thank our Redditors. We've got 1,660 of you guys at technewstoday.reddit.com, finding stories, voting on stories, commenting on stories. Thanks to No One Believes Me. I know we didn't get to the story about Missouri banning teachers from being Facebook friends with students. We've covered that kind of issue before, but it's good to see that stuff in there. Also, thanks to Captain Kipper, Spud, Stephen Holm, MacBites, Powtail, PC Guy 8088, and more. You can submit stories and vote on them, and we use that to determine our lineup. Go to technewstoday.reddit.com. Thanks, everybody, for watching and listening. You can find us on twit.tv/TNT. You can email us. Our email address is tnt@twit.tv, or you can give us a call. Phone number is 260- the numbers that correspond with these letters on your phone dialer. TNT Show. We'll see you next time. Hey, there it is. I really hear that. like your wallet is 404.
That's funny.